The thing is that these tips, or techniques, or whatever you wanna call them, that are not so obvious, probably only experienced woodland photographers will notice them. But wow, the impact they make! But the good news is that once you notice them, they are so easy to apply in our photos. So, do you wanna know them? Then follow me! Alright, the first thing we have to do as a woodland photographers is look for nice compositions while you are walking through the forest. And to find one, we have to stop looking just on the trees. I mean, of course we have to look for interesting trees, but unfortunately it's not enough. We have to focus in the environment, how the trees interact with the surroundings, in order to find order in the chaos of the forest. The idea of this video is to help you to do that. I'm gonna give you the tools to find order in the chaos of the forest. I mean to help you to find nice photos in a very simple way. In my experience, the best woodland photos, I found them immediately. Once you know how to look in the forest, it's much easier to find epic photos. Also, when we are looking for a photo, we cannot forget how the light interacts with the environment. A good light is gonna be a real game changer in our photos. But don't worry, because later I'm gonna explain in detail how to find the best light in woodland photography. Alright, to be honest, I already took the picture. The light is continuously changing, the sun is over there, and the fog is almost vanished, so I have to be fast. Changing the subject, today we're gonna keep the things as simple as possible to understand everything better. And according to my experience, the easiest trees to photograph are the pine trees, and that's why we came here. So if you are new in woodland photography and you don't know where to start, pine trees is a good solution to have great photos. Well, what I see in a lot of beginner woodland photographers is that they add the sky to the photos, and that it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the sky is quite bright comparing with the forest, and it doesn't give us any context to the photo, and in the end, the picture will look completely dark. So, to avoid the sky in our photos, we have two options. One option would be the use of long lens. We put ourselves far away from the frame, we make zoom, and problem solved. The thing is that we cannot use this technique so many times. Usually, you will find a lot of distractions between you and the photo. When I say distractions, I mean that there will be trees in front of us that we don't want they appear in our photos. And the other technique, and my favorite one, is to put the camera as high as possible and point the lens from up to down. To do that, you can use a tripod, but in case that your tripod is not big enough, you can put yourself higher than the trees, like I am myself right now. I just remember that once I found out that super nice trees with a lot of twisted branches and so on are trees with a lot of personality, but unfortunately my position was lower than them and I couldn't avoid the sky in my photo. What I am trying to say is that our position in woodland photography is very important. So it is colder than I thought. Well, right now, while I am preparing myself for another video, I realized that the most of the beginner woodland photographers, they make the worst mistake you can do here. And in fact, it's so easy to solve it. I mean, what I see in their pictures is that they don't leave space between the trees, making the composition busy and cluttered. And to avoid that problem, it's very simple. When you're working on your composition, if you see that the trees are close to each other, just try to move a few centimeters in the right direction and the problem will be solved. In this way, the picture will be more pleasant for the viewers. Also, don't forget to check out the corners of the frame and don't cut any tree either. In my humble opinion, what I am going to tell you now is the key for a good composition in woodland photography. The key is to keep it simple and have balance in your photos. When I say that we have to find balance in our photos, I mean that, for example, if we put our main tree in one side of the photo, we cannot leave the other side of the picture completely empty. You need something else to put in the other side of the photo, for example, more trees in woodland photography. Otherwise, the other side of the photo will be lack of interest. What I am trying to say is that if you find a nice bunch of trees, don't put all of them in one side of the photo. Anyway, let me explain it better with a photo that I took long time ago. As you can see, the main tree is placed a bit on the right side of the photo. And behind it, we can find trees on the right and on the left, covering a similar place on the photo. For example, if we take away the trees on the right side of the photo, all that place would be without interest and we would waste a lot of space in our frame. Another huge mistake that I see in woodland photography is not to think in the sense of depth. Sometimes I see pictures of a bunch of trees at the same distance with no space to see what is behind them. I mean, the trees of these pictures has no interaction with the surroundings and the picture looks completely flat and lack of interest. To avoid that problem in our photos, the easiest way would be to use a path to create sense of depth in our photos. I am not the biggest fan of photographing path, but if we are new in woodland photography, it's a good way to get into it. So if you want to photograph paths in the forest, don't forget to balance your photo, placing similar quantity of trees in both sides of the paths. Other easy technique to create sense of depth in our photos is to put in different distances the trees, like we did today. Place the main trees closer to you, but also leave space on the frame to give more context to the photo. I am getting old. Alright, the next tip is the real game changer, so pay attention because I am sure that the most of the professional photographers will be mad with me for telling you this. Photography, especially in woodland and in landscapes, the most important aspect is the light. It's not the same to take a photo during the midday, when the light is so harsh, or during the sunrise, when the light is more soft and it doesn't create that strong shadows. So, in the end, the key for a good photo is to understand how the light affects our pictures. And to do that, I'm going to try to simplify as much as possible, because I think it's not very easy to understand. At least for me, it wasn't very easy, because I always hear that the light was very important, blah, 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 but until I didn't see these pictures in front of me, I didn't realize how the light can impact our photos. There are different kinds of light that they work very well in woodland photography, for example, the backlight, like in this photo, but to be honest, it's not easy to find, and when you find it, it vanishes pretty soon. So today, we're gonna focus on a kind of light that you can find easily and explain you how to identify it. So let's imagine that we're in the forest taking photos. So what we are gonna do now is to look for a source of light from our right or left. And where we can find this source of light? For example, close to a path. Since in the path there are no trees to hide the light from the sky, the light will penetrate the forest from the path. So if we're parallel to a path, the light will illuminate the trees from this side, and in the other side will create shadows. And now, knowing how to identify the light, we have to use it properly in our photos. So the key is to have our most important elements of the photo illuminated. Why? Because our eyes are always attracted to the light. In this way, we are telling to the viewer where to look, where are the most interesting parts of the photo. And that's it. So if you use these simple techniques in your photos, I am sure that you will have great photos. Alright, this is completely unexpectable. I was already going home and suddenly I saw fog where usually there isn't, and I knew that in this area there are nice trees because I already checked out in Google Maps. So even if I'm completely tired and hungry, I have to stop here because I don't know where can I find again these conditions in this area. So to take this photo I just gonna use the tips and techniques that I told you before in this video, instead the one of the light, because here the light is completely flat. But anyway, if the light is flat, I can correct it in Photoshop, but this is too complex to explain it now. Anyway, if you wanna know how I edit the pictures in Photoshop, let me know in the comments. So I have my tripod as high as possible to avoid the sky, I have the trees in different parts of the frame to get the balance in the photo, and the only problem that I see is that I cannot separate well the trees. But unfortunately I can't move too much because otherwise I will be much lower and the picture will be much worse. And now let's go back where we were before. Anyway, if you lack of inspiration and you don't know what to shoot, I'm gonna give you my secret tip that I used to use when I was starting in photography. So what I used to do is to check out my favorite photos from other photographers and ask myself, why do I love this photo? Is the light? Is the composition? And where it is? And when I realized what it was, I just went out and looked for it. And that tip helped me a lot to find really nice photos. But the thing is that these tips are useless unless you are ready to go out. Are you? Discover it in this video. And that's it. So if you want to improve your photography with real examples in a very easy way, don't forget to subscribe. Agur eta hurrengo arte.